Hey everyone, how's everyone doing today? Let me know in the comments, what are you guys up to? Are you guys having dinner? Are you guys early dinner eaters or late dinner eaters? Have you already had your dinner? I definitely have. I'm an early dinner eater. But today's episode is on transformation time. This is a show where we get to hear about our guest speakers, personal development journeys, and the mindset shifts they've gone through as they've gone through real estate and their entrepreneurship journeys. This is always a great show because really it's all about what's in your mind, how you're changing to get to where you are now and to where you are in the future. So I always love hearing about people's journeys, and you should too. So let's see if our guest speaker is here. Give me 1 second. Okay. See, okay, I'm connected. Oh, my head cut off. Yeah, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well. How are you?
Oh, I'm all lopsided now. I'm good, good. And I don't think you're in Ontario, right? You're out and about. Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm
that's
going to do
right.
here. But half my face is showing.
I'm in my hotel room right now. So I'm in St. John, New Brunswick.
Yeah, where you're checking out one of the properties you already have, right? Under contract, or your my phone has decided to stop working now. Let's see.
I have three properties here in St. John, in a development project. So it's first time I'm getting to like be on site, with where our buildings are and our development project as well. Meeting a ton of people from our team. So it's been a blast. And then we're closing soon. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. But we're supposed to be closing any day on our 50 unit as well. So
Awesome, awesome. I feel like there's always going to be at least a little bit of drama on every single project, right?
I don't know why. Always. Yeah.
So let's start off with just telling the viewers a little bit about yourself. What kind of real estate investor are you? Anything you'd like to share, where you're at right now.
Yeah, thank you. So we started a few years back, about 6 years ago, doing the BRRR strategy. We come from a construction background. My husband has been in the trades for over a decade. We have an interior renovation business. We were just living paycheck to paycheck at the time. We were doing okay, but I figured there was not much. I couldn't see a way that we could grow our wealth. And I didn't know how. I don't come from a family of investors. My mom moved in with me at the time. She had some mental health issues, and I just felt this weight of responsibility to take care not only of my family, had two small kids, but also expand beyond into our parents. And then that's when real estate came into my life, and we got some education, started investing. For the last 2 years, we've scaled to apartment buildings. We're going to be just over 100 units this week. And that's in the last couple of years. So it's been about a year and a half. It's been really exciting as well.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Finally breaking the 100 mark.
Yeah, lots of marks that's been moving along. Yeah.
Awesome. So what exactly though got you into real estate? Like what was that pivoting point that just like made you realize how important it is or why you liked it?
Yeah, so I think for you to do anything significant in your life, you need to have a really strong why, right? We talk about that a lot, but it's the truth because something has to be pinching you enough for you to make the move and get out of your comfort zone. So my mom moving in with me at the time was that why for me. I just realized, hey, I have to grow something beyond myself here. And I didn't know what to do. Now, why real estate? I don't know how to answer that question other than it clicked for me. I've done different things in my life. I have a very different professional backgrounds. But when and it clicked because I saw somebody that was doing these high-end flips, and I could see it that it was working for them. I sought out some education. The moment I heard about how to do this, and also because of a construction background, it just clicked. I'm like, I can do this. Like, I can do it. I know I can. Um, and I've loved it. I love it. I've been doing it for 6 years now, and I love it.
That's awesome. And yeah, it's always exactly what you said, right? The why is so important. The why is really what makes you change, right? Because it's really like having to change some kind of habit, something to get you to make whatever those sacrifices are, like get up earlier, work more hours because now you want to like, get the real estate business or whatever it is. What kind of sacrifices did you start like once you understood what you wanted, what your why was? What were your sacrifices to get to where you are now?
Yeah, honestly, quite a bit. So there were a couple of things that were major right away. And once we decided, I was off to the races with it. Had no idea how to get started, had no money like to put into it at all. So we felt stuck immediately. Um, Started as small as I could, but as the biggest step I could take, which was to finish my basement apartment. We had this townhouse in Mississauga. Finished that basement apartment as a duplex, like converting to a duplex. Um, and then two big sacrifices I did that first year was I sold that house. We had just finished the basement apartment. We had renovated upstairs. I had two small kids. I thought at that time, I'm like, I need the capital to get started. Let's sell it. Let's take that capital and reinvest it into real estate. Ended up renting a home for 4 years. My family thought I was crazy. You just bought the house a couple of years ago. You have two kids. Why are you selling it? And that was something major. I did move into a really nice home, though. That was my way of like, if I'm gonna move to a rental, I'm gonna make it a really nice place. And then the second thing was I started working for the education company that I got my education from, and started working for them almost immediately. And that was my other way of being so immersed in the culture and in learning and putting it out there. And I used to travel weekends, 2, 3 weekends out of the month across the country when I had the two little ones at home, and Anton had to, take the brunt of that. So lots of sacrifices for sure.
Yeah, that's very hard, especially because, like you said, I'm assuming like your husband probably works crazy hours too. So him having to work crazy hours and then having kids on like while you're gone and him trying to deal with that, I can't imagine my husband trying to do that.
It was a little nuts. Yes.
Can imagine. But it's and it's funny you're saying that, things like that, like you'll do things that people are like, are you crazy? What are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? And having like, how did you keep the faith to be able to keep on going and know what you were doing was the right thing? Because it is very hard. Because when people aren't in the world, don't understand why it is what you're doing, I feel like it's hard, right?
Here's the catch. When you're starting anything new, you're operating out of a lot of faith ultimately and belief that it's going to work out. I have no idea, right? Like, I'm like, I don't know if this is actually going to materialize into, and I didn't even know what was going to materialize into. And it was ultimately that why that kept me like, I got to do something. And then once I've committed, now it became about, integrity with myself. Because I said I'm going to do this, I put it out there, I committed, I spent money, I invested money into myself, education wise, and being absolutely surrounded by people made a massive difference. So the fact that I immersed myself immediately with people that were doing real estate made a massive difference. They were ultimately, that network was they were my coaches, my mentors, my motivators, they were inspiring me every weekend when we went out. Um, Super important to keep you going and motivating.
100% agree. You don't realize how important it is to be around the people that are doing the same things as you or very similar like in the real estate until you're in it. Because I feel like, yeah, like it's very easy to people, like if you're doing it alone without that community, it's very, I feel like easy to get derailed because if you don't have someone to motivate you, and sometimes you need your community because other people won't understand, or just like even just, you know, they'll question things and then it makes you question, and then at least you have the community to be like, hey, what's the answer to this? Because actually I don't know and I'm worried, you know, at least you have those people there to kind of like ground you and help you out.
Yeah, because you said a lot of the people out there, I didn't have anybody in my immediate community that knew anything about real estate or operated in real estate. We don't come from a real estate family either, so it was all brand new, and people just thought we were crazy. So it's nice to feel normal amongst all the crazy people out there.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like that. I feel like people think you're crazy, especially when they've never done it, because they just think either it's super, super hard or unachievable or whatever it is, and their fears obviously of you failing or whatever will obviously get into you, and then so having that community helps to, I feel like, keep the faith. Because at least personally with me, I've tried so many little different types of businesses. And the reason why, one, I mean, I always, real estate for me always was going to happen. I knew it just because I personally did have actually, like my family did do real estate. So it was like something that I always wanted to do. But starting a business, I've always wanted to also start businesses. And I just found that I would try to do a business on my own. And like my husband would support and stuff, you know, like help me out. But really, it's like to do anything, I feel like you really need that community because when you're, especially starting off, I feel like if you don't have that community, I feel like 3 months, 6 months in, you maybe start giving up if you don't, because it takes, I feel like it takes, once you hit the 6 month mark, at least what it was for me, things really started rolling a lot faster, or I started seeing things actually happen. But if you don't have that like willpower or strength to do it on your own, I feel like it's very hard. Like your community really helps you out in that aspect. What do you think for you?
100%. It definitely took a community. It still does, by the way. You know, every time I'm like when we moved into the multifamily space, I sought out a community that talked multifamily and operated in the multifamily space. And I'll continue to expand my network like that because that's for me, that's what it takes, right? First of all, I'm a people person, so I love being around people and talking and getting to know. That's how you learn. That's how you stay motivated and inspired, right? So I always have a healthy budget in mind for education, mentoring, coaching, masterminds, to make sure that I'm, you know, immersed in this in the culture of real estate.
100%. So during your process of even just getting started and going through this, what kind of mind shifts or changes did you have to do in yourself to reach those goals that you had that you're meeting, for example, now?
Yeah, so a big one for me was I had to um, expand my belief around money. And because you know, you don't really realize it's all in a very automated, subconscious level. We grow up with the beliefs of our parents, of our family, of whatever we've seen in our lives. We don't always question it because it's just second nature. That's just how what you do. That's just how you think, right? Um, and I remember I had a personal coach at the time, and we were having this conversation. I said, this is my financial goal for the year, but to me, it sounds insane. Like, and he said, and it was, looking back now, it was a small goal. So we surpassed that by a lot. But I'm like, to me at the time, it sounded insane. He said, we're going to do an exercise and I want you to figure out like what your belief around money is, what value to attach to money. Because subconsciously you can be pushing it away from you, you know, and I want to be attracting it into my life. So expanding my mind into how much money, and that goes right now, that goes for the size of deals that we're doing, you know, because all of a sudden we're talking about $5 million deals, $10 million deals, $15 million deals. you know, 70 unit development, and it just like expands your mind in a really massive way. Um, by confronting and understanding what your beliefs around money are and replacing it. If there's any old beliefs that don't serve you, replacing it with beliefs that will serve you, and saying, "Hey, that just doesn't serve my life. It maybe my parents were like this. Um, I'm going to implement some beliefs in my life that I'd like to actually experience it." And you do that by understanding how other people think about money. You know, people that are doing bigger deals, people that are doing, have more money, or have businesses successful. Um, have a conversation with them around money.
Yeah, 100%. Money, yeah, money, I think it affects everyone. It's funny how just adding a little zero at the end can be the scariest thing in the world, right?
And you know what's funny? Because like I tell people all the time right now, the time that two people have, the time that I have and somebody else has is exact the same. The effort is the same because we were doing fourplexes before. The effort in burning out our fourplexes and getting into, a 24 unit, a 50 unit is about the same. The difference is the size of the deal, those additional zeros, as well as your belief system around it. You see, that's where the mindset piece comes in.
100%. It's like the scariest thing at the beginning, but it's funny once you, although I would say, do you probably still have like your ceilings for money? Don't you? Like other new ceilings that you find scary? Because I feel like I went through it. Like I did quite a big jump between certain numbers. And then now it's like I feel like I have a ceiling where it's like funny because you're trying to tell yourself like you didn't care about these numbers. Why are you caring about the next numbers? Are you having the same things? Like, what are your like numbers that you're scared of right now?
Listen, I always have them, and this is how you know too. Like it always feels like I'm stretching, reach or like further than I could. Like I'm reaching further than I should or I can reach, right? Like it always feels like that. I was just talking to somebody, another real estate investor, have a few things on the go, and he's like, just feels like I can lose everything. It feels like it's too far-fetched. Like every time you're growing, it will always feel like that. So, understanding the process that's exactly what happens. Doesn't matter what level you're at. When you're throwing yourself into a new venture, especially if it's expansion, it's scary, like, and you just don't know, and it feels a little too far for you to reach. But I love it because I'm like, now I gotta figure this out. Like now I gotta make it work because it's out there. I can't backtrack now. So, um, so yeah, I do have ceilings. My coach did give me an exercise to do, which I thought was very helpful a while back. And what he said was, I don't want you to look at any deals that are less than $20 million for the next 2 weeks. You're going to come back and you're going to have a few deals. You're going to call the realtors. You're going to get information on, like, you're going to actually explore these deals, but they have to be a minimum of $20 million. And it really expanded my mind because up until now I was looking at things that were, I don't know, 2 million in and around there. When I did the exercise, by the time I came back and started seeking properties again, it was so easy to talk about 5 million and $6 million because it's like, oh, it's only 5 million. Like those were 20 million. So, so that was a really good exercise, and it actually worked really well for me.
That's awesome. That's a great tip. And yeah, I think like when you start looking at it and you try to make, I guess, something else look normal, and I think that even happens actually within ourselves, right? When we start doing things, like, isn't it funny to look back at yourself and look at the things you used to stress at before, and then look at like how silly you think it is now?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. This is a economies of scale, right?
What were like the things that, for example, that stressed you out or made you nervous that now you feel so silly to think about it?
Yeah,
That
that's a
it
good
didn't stress
question.
you out.
Yeah, so I guess the one thing was when we first started investing, I really felt like I needed to be in the buildings. I needed to be like doing the renovations, super involved. I wanted to have full control of how this project was going to go. Our very, very first fourplex conversion, IGC to the whole thing, was there like every day, you know, like helped demo, helped lay flooring, like it was a whole commitment. Um, and again, over the last year and a half, I bought 3 properties, a development project, sight unseen on my end. I do have partners and people on the ground, but what a difference to be able to carry out, you know, millions of dollars projects, and I don't have to do any demo and I don't have to lay the flooring. So silly to think that I have that much control or skill set for that matter. Like let the experts do it. And how it's been so amazing to be able to expand beyond that.
100%. And now that you're talking about that, so what would you say are your skills that you have that you like that you hone in and work on and like that the other people don't have? Like where do you say your skills are in?
Yeah, so first of all, I think I'm always looking for people that are more talented than me, to be honest. um, some of my skill sets and I guess the things that I'm passionate about and prefer to stay operating in, I'm a really big vision person. So, you know, I'm really push everybody forward just by how big I think and move us in a certain direction. When I do decide on something, I'm gonna make it happen. I have that kind of commitment and work ethic in me. I grew up with a single mom. She raised 2 daughters. She owned her own business. She brought us to Canada, figured all out on her own. And I have this within me of like, hey, like, it's no walking, like, you know, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna work hard. I have no complex. Like today I was at the job site. We went to we're interviewing some builders out here in New Brunswick for our development. We went to see a job site, a building that's one of the builders is working on. And obviously it's always males. Like it's always only men, right? It's always, I'm always unique where most places that I go in being a woman on those job sites. It's always interesting conversations as well, and how different people will behave when they're talking to me versus my business partner who is a man. But all comes from, again, like that strong example and work ethic. And then I'm a people person. I love people. I connect well with people. I build relationships. I love the money raising aspect of real estate. So that's where I like to spend a lot of my time as well.
That's awesome. And from your past experiences before getting into this, were those the similar things that you had that helped you to get to where you are? Like, is there anything in your previous jobs that you felt helped you that get into real estate or skills that you could use to get you into real estate?
That's a good question. The only like common theme that I really see in my life from when I was little is my love for people. You know, some people like numbers, some people like building, some people like, you know, programming, whatever. Like my husband really likes, he's an engineer background. He likes to understand how things work. I I have no interest usually. My highest interest has always been people. How do people think and feel, and what kind of experience can I provide? Real estate became my way of generating an impact that goes way beyond myself. It's a vehicle to, build wealth, but I also realized the opportunity that he has to provide for other people. I mean, we've been so beyond blessed to create generational wealth for my immediate family, but that has poured into my parents and my mom being able to retire. That has poured into my community. And that has poured into all of our investors who have an opportunity to, with our experience and our time and our efforts, to have their money working for them. And hearing and having those relationships and conversations is what lights me up and what allows me to keep going. We also do local ACE Properties as a for-purpose business. We also do, community engagements. For every building that we buy, we finance here in St. John. We put some of it right back into the community and help support as well. So that's where my heart lies in real estate.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so great to hear. It's great that you can, incorporate, the things that you love and, put it into real estate or like that, putting it into the communities. So what kind of other mindset shifts have you gone through?
Yeah. Um, Good question. I think the long distance investing was a big one for me as well. It took me, I needed to get comfortable enough to know that I had a partner out here. I haven't bought or purchased a property in another place where I don't have a partner, so that's potentially a next mindset shift there. But that was what it took for me, and I love it, honestly. Like it's so nice being here and seeing the buildings and being on site. But the fact that I bought long distance, just I had to figure out how to do that, and that was a huge learning and growth for me as well. Um,
How did you get over that? How, like, trusting in someone over there and making sure it was successful? How did you get over, I'm sure, the many different things that go on in your head when something's so far away?
yeah, really great question. So ultimately, I went in it with the same attitude that I go into anything else that I do, which is, hey, I'm going to give my very best. And there's always a solution here to any issues that come up. There's always a different way of looking at something. There's always a way of optimizing a situation as well. And that's so dependent on me. I take full responsibility for anything that I do in my life. It's not easy. I make a lot of mistakes and I don't always feel this strong. But I do remind myself of this that keeps me going. When we first started, it was hard. Like we were getting to know each other and we had to figure out how to be partners and how to scale and not be in the same room, right? Like over the phone and Zoom but we did and we worked through it. We had, things that came up along the way, but we were both committed and we worked through any issues that came up with the properties themselves. Like same thing. I feel confident. We have a whole team here. We have realtors, we have property managers, I have a business partner, we have appraisers, inspectors. There's a lot of people here and colleagues that are investors as well that can help with that. Yeah, so that's what it
Were
took.
there any like specific skills or anything or things that you were looking at when choosing your partner or figuring out even if you guys would make a good partnership?
I have to say that it was new to me. This, like when I partnered in this fashion. So there was a lot of learning that happened there. I didn't fully know how to find a partner, to be honest, or what to ask or how to make sure. Like I didn't have any, hey, I didn't have any like experience. So it for me, I went with gut feeling. Like, I went with like an energy and a vibe. Like, hey, can we work together? Obviously, there were other things that went in. Mindset was a big one. We're really aligned in our mindsets. The skill set that he's an electrician by trade, very operational, super successful, ambitious, and I could see a lot of trades in him. And I'm so happy we were in such a good place. I feel so grateful for our partnership. Not always easy. So looking back, though, I can give you some tips. If I were to do it again, and I do have other partners, development, for example. If I were to do it again, I do take a bit more time in a dating phase and getting to know somebody a little bit. Talking about money is a big deal because, hey, like we're partnering for profit to make money here. And if I don't understand my belief around money, how can I even ask somebody else? But being aligned, that's a big piece because, everybody is laughing when everything is going well. when something happens and you need to reinvest back into your business, which we've done, by the way, um, like you have to be aligned, right? When there's hard times or challenge or loss, you have to be aligned. Even when you do make a lot of money, you need to be aligned on how to handle that. So that's definitely a conversation we've had that I will have with every partner moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny. I feel like your first partnership will always be like a very big learning experience in so many different ways because it is hard. Like you can't go in always knowing exactly what you want. It's more exactly like you go in and then you're like, oh, like I want this next time, that next time, this next time, like this one a little rough, or I would do this differently or that differently. Like the first one is always, I feel like, the biggest learning experience.
It really is. And every person's so unique. So no two partnerships will be the same. So it's very unique there. You can't, there's no perfect formula for partnership, right? Because it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
there is, things that you need to discuss, goals and dreams, like what's the plan? I remember when we first started, my business partner his mindset at the time was like, let's look at triplexes. I'm like, no, like I want like we're gonna go for big stuff. So, and we had a discussion a few times because we weren't quite aligned in that in the beginning. It was just some barriers and ceilings that he had. I'm sure it was new to me too, but I was determined. So, and we scaled so fast as well that now we're happy and now he's happy and we're rolling and it's good. But communication is another big thing. How do you communicate? How do you um, something we got on talking early on was he was really into email, like communicating through emails. I hate emails. I use them all the time, every day, all day. I'm sure you do too. But they're not my jam, I prefer a phone call or like a Zoom or whatever. I'm much more of a people person. So we ran into that issue. He's like, just email me the thing or email me what you're talking about or email him like would never email him. And he's like, what's going on? And it took us a minute to be like, wait, we just have very different communication styles and we needed to find some sort of compromise, which we have. And like, that's one of the things we worked through as well. So
It's
yeah.
probably like having the video call and then doing the email.
I just don't email. And he's okay with
Oh
email.
no, just record the video message and that's it.
Like he can call me anytime and I will pick up the phone, but I don't email, so we're on the same page now. That's good.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny because I feel like I'd understand why he does emails. Because I know, for example, with my husband, like emails is just always the best way to do like to have like clear instructions. I mean, in a renovation sense, because obviously that's what he does. That's why I find it funny.
I understand, but I'm like I just can't function like that. I really try. I'm like no, I can't. So I email all the time, but I'm like transactional, right? It's so transactional. That's the challenge for me.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you because like that, I do a little of both. Like I'm the same. Like I like to do, let's have the conversation, let's do the video chat or like in person, we have the conversation. But I guess because the corporate world and you always have to like, as a KYC cover your ass, then it's like, okay, this is what we said we were going to do, right? We're all in the same boat. So it's like, but I'm the same. Like I like the interactions because um, I don't know, things always get lost in translation in emails or messages.
The funny is like I can't think on paper, like I think best at a conversation because to me it always goes two ways, right? If I'm proposing something, I need to understand I'm a salesperson as well. So like I need to understand how you're feeling about something or what's important to you so that I can come up with the best possible win-win proposal, to make. And you can do that over email. You can convey tone or, like so I understand instructions. Yes, I email all day, every day. I understand how important it is, but yeah, we're in a good place now with our it's good.
Yeah, no, it's good. I totally know what you mean though, because I remember I think one of the hardest things that I had starting into real estate, again, getting into the communities was actually before COVID, everyone's all about the phones. And I'm also not a phone person. I'm like, I need to see your face kind of a person. Like, I need to talk to you and actually see your face. And so COVID was actually kind of nice because I had like huge trust issues with talking to people on the phone. Like, I was just kind of like, I think it went well. Like I was just like I couldn't tell. I would struggle with phone conversations even where as soon as COVID happened, I was all like video call, video call, video call, video call.
I loved it. I'm like, this is perfect. Now I can actually ask you to do a Zoom, and you can't say no because that's the new thing to do, you know. So
It is. I say me too. I loved it because I was just like everyone's all about the phones and I'm like and then back then it was either phones or in person. I feel like asking someone to do a Zoom chat was very strange. No one did that. It's like either a person or it's a phone call, right? So I'd always try to opt for the in person. But then there's only like that, like the growth has been so much just because how I can like meet so many more people doing Zoom calls than imagine like traveling to so many places to do like coffee meetings and stuff.
I 100% agree. Like I formed friendships with people across Canada that I'm like consider really close friends before I even met them. I felt like we were like, very, very close. So I it definitely had that silver lining for me as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and that I think actually being able to expand your circle was huge, right? I'm sure like that, like you probably wouldn't be in New Brunswick if it weren't for all these things happening and making Zoom calls normal or video calls or whichever way you communicate. Like it's just like made things normal to be able to communicate to people further away. Whereas like I don't know, at least for me, I felt like everything was like doing it local and it wasn't normal to go out.
100%. So my business partner here, Ben, I met him on a mastermind that was an East-West mastermind. He's from BC and moved out here. So again, we had bought properties before I even met him in person. So like, it's amazing. I love that concept. Like how it just made it so wide open to build relationships, with people all over the place.
Yeah, 100% agree. Any other types of mindset shifts or changes you had to do in yourself to get to where you are?
Yeah, I think another one was, I had to change a narrative that went on in my head for way too long. The narrative was that, I couldn't do it. It was just an insecurity, type of narrative of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do it. Like, who am I to be, doing the things I'm doing? Who am I to be talking about, any of this? Um, we tend to be the hardest on ourselves. And I had to shift that
Mhm.
mindset because otherwise I couldn't be here. Otherwise I couldn't be like talking and doing the things that I'm doing if I continue to tell myself the stories that are just not true. And a couple of things that I did was, and this worked for me, was I would always ask myself, whenever I'm being hard on myself, I'd ask, if my best friend was here in front of me and I'm telling her exactly the same things that I'm telling myself, why I think I'm something that I'm not, what would you say to me? And I can hear her voice so clearly saying, "You're amazing." Like, what are you talking about? Like, look where you are, look what you've done, look who you are, like just so many great things in your life. And like I know she would say all of that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start talking to myself as if I were my best friend, which I should be, shouldn't I? Like, if I have one prevalent voice in my head every day, all day, what do you want that voice to be saying? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's
Yeah,
got to be saying
100%.
the best things possible.
Yeah, that's a great way of viewing it because it is hard. We like to I don't know why our minds like to go into negative. Well, like, I mean, they go into negative because they don't want us to change, right? Our mind is so averse to change. It's like insane. It'll do anything it can to get rid of those new thoughts. Oh, you want to change this? Yeah, let me tell you why you don't want to do that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't realize how hard change is, right? Until you're doing it and you're going through those like mental struggles, and it's funny because it's like two voices in your head. Like you are like, no, I'm doing this, and then one's like, no, I'm telling you why you shouldn't be doing that. So you're just like, oh my god, this is like too much.
and this is what like this show is all about, right? Is that mindset piece. Because if you can control your thoughts, if you can have more control, don't get me wrong. I have the rhetoric never ends, okay? But I'm super intentional and conscious to not dwell there. And, I have my moments and I have my days or whatever. Don't get me wrong, but I will always try to come back out and be like, no, like I'm not gonna spend my energy and time destroying myself and making myself feel bad. If there's a lesson to be learned, if I've done something that I need to learn a lesson from, what's the lesson? I'm going to learn that because I think that's fair. I need to always be improving. But I'm not here to beat myself up because that doesn't serve me. It just puts me in a really bad place. Like I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? And then let's move on and let's be excited and happy about where I am and grateful and, focus my thoughts on what's exciting about life, not what's negative about it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that was one of the pivoting things for me was I never really believed that, the thing of like always think of the positive in things and just like leave the negative alone. That concept to me for some reason never really made sense to me until like you start actually doing it and you see like how light, I don't know, life starts getting when you actually start seeing things that, oh, this happened, but it happened because of this, and I'm gonna make sure this happens next time. Or I don't know. Did you have those kind of feelings where you see things happening and then you're putting like that positive spin and you're just noticing like how much better it actually feels going through it?
So it's so hard to beat the feeling of gratefulness, because it's like it just puts you in such an interesting place and mindset that I can't experience with almost any other feeling, even excitement or happiness. Like I'm so high, but with gratefulness, it's just like this, inner joy of like, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, look at my circumstances. Like, I'm amazed. I'm so blessed.
Mhm.
And here's the catch, right? With your thoughts. If you continue to focus on the things that are absolutely incredible in your life, or the things that you want, or the things that are extremely exciting to you, that's what you're going to attract. That's what you're going to attract in your life. And then you're going to have more of that coming. So same thing with the negative side too, though. Like if you're focusing on what's wrong and that didn't work, um, I became so conscious about it that I hear when people talk that way now. When they say something about themselves, or they say I can't, or they say I won't, or this will never happen. When they say things like that, it's like it gives me shivers
Shock
because
you,
I
right? You're
noticed
like,
it
do
so
it.
much. You can't talk like that, like, and always forward, I'm always forward in the sense that like it's not about I'm happy where I am right now, so that's the gratefulness, and I'm excited about where it's all going, and imagining and projecting those things outwardly for everything, relationship with my kids, with my husband, with travel, anything. It's projecting the best possible case scenarios that you can imagine in your head. Dwell on those, think about those, as opposed to what could possibly go very, very wrong.
Yeah, it's you don't start, and it's funny because as you go to this journey of really to say analyzing your thoughts and trying to see the positive or being grateful for things, do you really start noticing that like you get what you want in life, And like you said, if it's like negative thoughts, you get those. And it's very interesting because when, something, let's say bad happens, I'm like, oh, I just did that to myself. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Like you really start realizing, like, I totally brought that onto myself. Like, oh, that, like something happens, you're like, wow, that was all me. I totally did that to myself. I totally sabotaged myself.
Yes, yes. You recognize it. That's good. That's the awareness piece, right? So you're just
Yeah.
being aware of like where your mind is at, where your body is at, and how to, influence it towards the direction that you want it to go. Because there's a resistance there, like you said earlier, but there's also ways to remove resistance. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot to do with my feelings. If I can be in a state of gratefulness and joy and happiness and excitement, uh, I can influence myself to go way beyond what I thought possible by following those feelings and gain a lot of clarity and awareness of where I am.
Mm-hmm. 100% agree. So, what was your shocking moment when you looked back and you saw like what you've done? Like, I don't know, with me, I had a point where I didn't realize how much I had done because I was so much like looking into the future that I didn't know where I wasn't even paying attention to my past. And it like shocked me to be like, oh my God, I've actually been doing a lot. Did you have that? Did you have that feeling of looking back and just having that shock of, I can't believe I done this, or I never expected myself to be where I am today.
Yeah, we had a really big a moment last year because we sold a couple of our properties and we did really well and better than I ever thought possible. And we went out and celebrated, and that was such a joyful moment to say. And that's the house I told you about, our very first, that I was like on the floor demoing it, 9 months of sweat and like no AC, and like going through all the things and looking back at everything we went through to put that deal together, and how well he has done for us. Um, it was really joyful. Although, this feeling of like you don't always realize it because I'm again always looking forward to what's exciting about what's coming. And I get people all the time saying, wow, like what you've done already is so amazing, like so impressed. I'm like, really? Like it's in my head. I'm like, I'm looking so far ahead, and I'm like, okay, yes, thank you, it's true. And then taking a moment to, you know, appreciate
Well, I
that.
think that's what it is, right? It's someone tells you because to be honest, I mean, especially, I mean, we're in the community. You hear so many people talking about the stories and what they've done and where they are. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm always behind? And then it was fun when someone tells me and make me actually reflect, and they're just like, "Are you crazy?" And they start making like saying the things that I had done, and then it was kind of like one of those like, "Oh, I have done quite a bit of stuff actually."
Yeah, we one of our masterminds, we had somebody say, Randy Mullen, actually, he said that how important it is to have like some sort of reminder token of how far you've gone, to remind yourself in moments of high stress and just when you're facing challenges. Um, he talked about, it was just an exercise that he did. He had a little book where he kind of wrote down. He had it there for whenever like he needed to, he could flip it through and physically remind himself. I haven't done this yet, but I want to, which is sort of like, build a wall with some frames and like just uh, reminders, memorandums of like memorabilia of like things that we've done that's been so exciting and so fulfilling to us. Um, for that reason, right? To always be reminding you of how far you've come, and therefore how far you can still go.
Yeah, 100%. So you were talking about your house, that the very first house that you sold. I'm assuming at that time you were probably thinking that it was a house that you're going to keep forever or for a longer term. How was that detachment and allowing yourself, like, how did that whole experience go?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting story because it was a process. Yeah, I was super attached to that house. I just put so much, sweat and effort into it. I never thought I'd sell it until somebody once made an offer. Like I didn't put it out on the market. Somebody made an offer or just said, "Hey, would you sell your house? Would you sell the house?" And I'm like, my first reaction was, "No way!" Like I'm not selling. Like forget it, right? Um, but then I went away and like I kind of started like, okay, hold on, like why not? Like what's going on, right? So the way it functioned was there were actually two properties side by side. The first one and then another one we had just bought like about 6 months prior before we got this offer. I went, okay, what would be exciting enough? This is me following my excitement level again. What would be exciting enough for me to actually sell these homes? These two, there were two fourplexes, so 8 units. Um, and I came up with a number. It just came to my mind, and I said it out loud. This is the other thing I do a lot, and I suggest people do. Talk about the things that you want in your life. Don't be scared. Don't feel like people are judging you because you're thinking too big. I could care less. I'm like just spitting out like I want a beach house. I want to blah, blah, blah. I want to travel this much. I want to make this much money. And because you're also putting the intention out there in the world. And again, you're attracting it to you. Anyways, I said the number out loud um, to my mom at the time because I had just come to visit her. And that number was like my number. It became my number. Um, the seller or the buyer kept, contacting and seeing if we were interested. I called my accountant at the time and I said, hey, um, after everything, I need this number here as my profit margin to sell these two buildings. Can you tell me how much I need to sell them for to get to my number? And he did the math, and it was a little bit of a crazy negotiation, but we ended up getting what we wanted for it.
That's amazing. And that's so true about just saying what you want, or even when you tell people. I mean, I feel like choose the right people to tell, because I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to tell my family. But choose the right people, because I mean, you'd want to tell, let's say, your community, because then they can connect you, or you may connect yourself to someone that makes you achieve those goals. So I'm the same. I find that so interesting when you say things and then things just start connecting, because then you pop up into someone's head, and they may refer you or say like, "Oh, the situation happened," and then that's like one of the easiest ways of how things happen, right? It's just you put
So
it out there, and somehow someone else manages to bring it to you.
that's what I'm saying. Like it just comes. Like I kind of live with the philosophy. I wanna attract things. I don't want to chase things. So always being open. That takes a lot of work as well. Like a lot of inner work and awareness to see what's good, what's coming. That's good for you or whatever. And not to get impatient to go chasing the next thing. As well.
hmm Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, that's interesting that you say impatient. Well, actually, right now your main focus is your buildings in New Brunswick. So probably right now, are you looking for anything right now, or are you 100% focused on your New Brunswick properties right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the answer is I always look. I can't not because that's just that's just what we do. Um, I get a lot of opportunities brought my way often, which I'm so grateful for, to be honest. Like a lot of people wanting to partner in different things, or just a lot of opportunities come to me, which I'm so grateful. Um, but I am being a lot more intentional about what I'm doing and focusing my time on. I do want to stay within the higher unit counts because so far I've really enjoyed getting to the larger multifamily space. I do have quite a few plans coming up as well, not necessarily only in acquisition, although I know that's going to come, uh, but just in like some business things, setting up some business structures. for Ace Properties, as well as some adding some active components, income component to our business as well. So I'm excited about those things. So they're coming up. And then I know the next acquisition is going to come. I just know it. It's just going to come and it's going to be here and I'm going to be so excited. I'm like, yep, that's the one that was, meant to be.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, because I was gonna say with me, with the economy how it's been going, I had to like stop actually looking for a bit because I was getting like that, like I was getting desperate and I was just like, oh, I can't, like this is just getting annoying. I had to take a break from it because I was like,
Breaks
I'm
are
gonna just start
good.
doing things that I don't even want to get.
Breaks are good. I never want to be in a place where I feel like I have to get into something just for I don't even know what reason. So that's where the intentionality comes in and being like, hey, no, I'm going to be intentional. I'm only going to get into something that's very exciting and has the potential that I like to see in it.
100%. Now looking into the future, like that, you have your future goals set. What changes are you focusing on now to get to achieve your future goals?
Yeah, the biggest one that I'm focusing on is adding some team members, because it's a lot of work and I desperately need help and talent, people that are more talented than me in different things. So that's been a really interesting one. I don't really come from I don't have a big business or anything. So the whole hiring and building a team has been brand new to me. It's a different way that I'm expanding right now, learning about leadership and, that whole concept. And I've already tried a couple of things and, I'm like learning right now. I try something, I hire somebody, it doesn't work. I'm like, what happened? How come? Try something else, try something else. So really learning it right now. And what I find with almost anything that I do is the first blueprints that I get in my head is like what I think I should be doing. Like, for example, when I'm hiring somebody, I think I should be doing these steps because I don't know, that's what I've been told or that's a belief. I don't know. And I want to take more time to figure out, hey, what feels right to me to do in the situation. Because when I feel like when I follow that gut feeling, I follow that, I'm usually in a much better place than if I'm, just following a script that doesn't feel right. And my body's resisting, that I'm like, no, like I don't really want to do it that way. So I've just been speaking it out loud in terms of the team members. I'm just attracting the right people to join my team because I want it to be a life-changing experience. It'll continue to carry through the impacts that we have for everybody involved. And I also want it to be fun because I need to have that in my life too. So.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I mean that's why we're doing this, right? Is to be able to enjoy our lives and have fun. And if your workspace can't be a place of fun and positivity, at least, I feel like that's just going to make you not even want to be in your own business.
Exactly. So it's a lot, it's hugely about the person, obviously the skill sets and their zone of genius. But this has to be really we really have to be aligned well with the mindset piece.
hmm Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's something that, for example, like me and my husband are having problems with our contract business is like last year trying to hire people has been so hard because same thing, like we have a certain culture in the team and you want to maintain that, like in ours specifically, like it's very like I feel like you feel like it's like a family, like everyone's so comfortable joking around and like has that non-communication, like they can just read each other's minds and be able to get things done because they just know each other well. And then we were bringing in people that were just like, I don't know if we're hoping this year we can hire properly, but like last year I found it either people just don't want to work, they're very lazy. We were having people like stealing our equipment. It was just or not coming in on time. Like we were saying like you have to be in 7 or 8, whatever the time was for whatever project it was, and they're coming in at 12, and you're just kind of like I don't know about this worth ethic here.
See, it's hard, eh? Like, again, also because it's unique. That's the thing with leadership, right? Every person is different. There is no perfect formula, although there is standards and KPIs and, all the things. But every person has its unique have their own uniqueness to them. So leadership becomes a bigger, a bigger piece of running a team, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting because it's also, and it's in itself, like you said, it's a huge learning experience, like learning how to manage teams, how to find the right people to be on the team, like making sure whatever your work culture is, it's actually what you want it to be and it's not being destroyed. Like that was one of our biggest always worries, is just wanting to build the right culture and then not be destroyed by someone coming in and because they're just like not fit for our team.
Yeah, like a bad apple, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or just the different mentalities. Like you said, like the mindset is so important. The connection between the groups is always so important. So it's just, yeah, it's always so hard and like that, especially when you have a good thing going, you're just like, I don't want anything to ruin it.
Yes, yes. And I think it would be great like for you and for other people to see it. Hey, it's an opportunity for you to come and join, this really amazing culture and thing we built, right? It's like it's an opportunity for you to come, but you gotta there's gotta be a mutual alignment there.
Yeah, 100%. So last final question for you. What do you see yourself, what are your goals, either personal or business, that you see yourself doing in the next, for 5 to 10 years? What are your like big goals?
I have really big goals.
We love to hear the really big ones.
Yeah, ultimately, I like to grow ACE to be, to really dabble in real estate in a few different ways. I want to keep the multifamily side going. I love it. Makes sense to me. Um, we've gained momentum in it, so we want to keep building that out. We're doing our first development project, so this is new to us, but it's going well so far, and I'm sure there'll be tons of challenges and tons of victories in there as well. But I like to grow ACE to be able to do like really all three components of real estate: residential, multifamily, some development, and then do some commercial as well. I like to get into the commercial side. Um, so that's my hope ultimately with team members and building those processes out so that everything is uh, going smoothly. And then I like to continue to grow our for profit for purpose side as well. And because right now it's been really like, hey, where's the need and where's the connection that we can support. But I like to be intentional about it as well as we continue to grow the for purpose side as well. Why are we doing what we're doing? How can we impact? I really like the idea of impacting the local communities where we invest, because to me, it's such a direct way of giving back and improving, the community. Um, and then there's a couple of other things that I'm adding on, as I was saying earlier, working on a couple of things on the, to be able to provide more value to people. I get so many requests every day, people that wanting help. I'm sure you do too. And just want to have a conversation. I'm like, how can I continue to expand my reach so that, I can provide more value to more people as opposed to having these individual conversations, which are so amazing, but just take a lot of time. But I can hopefully provide the same type of value. So that's some of the stuff I'm working on the background as well.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing us. So it's always awesome to chat with you and catch up with you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, you too. It was such a pleasure. We'll do it again soon.
100%. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll see everyone in the next episode. Bye, everyone. If I can get off. I don't know why I always have issues getting off. I can do this.
Just stay here.